Welcome to All Things MSP from IT Nation. Today we've got two fantastic conversations that showcase the diversity and innovation happening in our space. First up, we'll hear from Mike Psenka, the CEO of Moovila, who's revolutionizing project management for MSPs with their unique approach to getting the right people in the right place at the right time. Then we'll dive into cybersecurity with Adam Slutskin from CyberFOX, a channel veteran who's been part of our industry's incredible growth. Both of these companies exemplify what makes our community special: the spirit of giving back and helping each other succeed. Level up your email domain security and deliverability. Reduce business email compromise and reel in that pesky email phishing. Make DMARC a new revenue stream for your MSP. Becoming a managed service provider partner with EasyDMARC is a great opportunity for your business to boost sales and decrease risk. Your customers need DMARC. Your job is to let them know that their email domain might be at risk. Find out more today at atmsp.link/EasyDMARC. That's atmsp.link/EasyDMARC. Operating an MSP sucks. Gozinta is here to make it suck less. With their consulting services, they are your trusted advisors through every step of your MSP's journey, from startup to exit. And their software is crafted with care to ensure that they're solving problems for you and not creating new headaches. Find out more at atmsp.link/Gozinta. That's atmsp.link/Gozinta. Our first guest is Mike from Moovila. You know them as the company with the cow theme that the community actually encouraged them to adopt. Moovila specializes in project and project portfolio management. They're creating solutions like Project Hub with robust template libraries and even developing Mentor Plus, an in-app learning management system that acts like a virtual project management coach. Hey there, All Things MSP crew. I am here live from IT Nation with Mike, the CEO of Moovila. So, Mike, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate being here.
How's the show been for you guys so far?
It's been great. It's been great. We love IT Nation. We love the show and the community and the people. So we've had a lot of traffic and there's been a lot of interest about what we do. And this has been a great year, followed by a previous great year. So this is an exciting show for us.
Yeah, you guys are one of those that are easily recognizable. You know, you've got the cow theme going on, which is really kind of cool. And it's... You know, some people look at those things like a gimmick.
Right.
And I look at them as somebody who is really trying to bond themselves to this community, because this community appreciates that kind of thing. And I just want to say, I want to compliment you and your team on really striving to be part of this community, because it is appreciated and I know that people notice.
Oh, yeah. Thank you so much. And, you know, I think Kate Schlarf on our team and Amanda Kabista, who does brand, and Colleen Baldry are really heavily involved in the community, as is Whitney Asnev as well. And honestly, the cow thing was, I think, from the community. They kind of told us to do it. It was really funny because they said, "Moose, cows, you guys should be." And so, you know, they decided to show up in cow suits at one show, and then all of a sudden we had MSPs come up going, "I want a cow suit," and other vendors started wearing cow suits around. So I don't know that I think we would love to sort of. I would say it certainly wasn't me. It was the amazing marketing team that sort of engaged the community. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, no worries. And I think it's one of those things that has helped you guys elevate your position in the space, and you guys have done a lot to improve something that I think most MSPs have not really engaged much in, and that is project management.
Right.
Of course. So what do you guys do from a base point so that people who don't know who you are kind of get an idea?
Thank you. So project and project portfolio management, as well as resource management and scheduling, right? Sort of a mouthful. But at the end of the day, we're trying to make sure the right people are in the right place at the right time. And while sounding trivial, turns out to be a really, really non-trivial issue with the amount of data required to do that. And project management, and you know, you could ask most large PSAs, it's a module, but it's not the primary purpose, right? And I think, as you sort of astutely pointed out, in the MSP community, I think that discipline of understanding the importance of projects and managing those, I don't know that that was as heavily part of the maturity cycle as maybe ticket management and the NOC and the other areas. And I think they're starting to realize the peril of not doing that.
Well, I think one of the things that's happened in our space is that a lot of MSPs have, for lack of a better word, outgrown the project management modules that are in the PSAs, like
Right.
you were talking about. And so there's been this need for a little while for a tool like Moovila.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, sort of the Wayback Machine for us. We started this back in 2016 because we realized there was a need for automation and AI in project management, and not LLM based, but deterministic expert
Right.
systems, symbolic systems, so it could be deterministic, it could be interpretable and repeatable in process, right? And so we realize that because I think what most people don't realize, and I said this in a talk yesterday, is for most MSPs, the probability that their projects are going to go off without a hitch is incredibly low. Actually, statistically, the odds are winning Powerball 4 times in a row is more likely than your projects with your engineers getting their stuff done 90% of the time. And I think most people will say, or customers, right? Hey, our customers never get their stuff done 90% of the time. So
Right.
you got to manage them like endpoints. You got to think about tasks like endpoints, and you kind of need an RMM for your projects. And I think that's probably the easiest way for an MSP to think about it would be like, hey, we've got an RMM for our endpoints. God, it would be a nightmare to not have that. We're like RMM for projects.
That is a really great analogy, and I think, like you said, most people would understand that better than traditional project management.
Right.
Because a lot of these guys are technical first.
Right.
They haven't been to business school. They don't understand the formalities that you really need around these complex projects, especially when you're managing multiples at a time.
Right. Yeah, and the effects that they have in each other. And a lot of MSPs have the same engineers working projects and working tickets. So that adds another layer of complexity, right? We have something called Smart Schedule that will allow them to see all of their appointments, all their calendar appointments, all their ticket appointments, and then the projects, and then obviously using the critical path engine to calculate the right dates, go, when should this engineer be working on this project, right? Because
Yeah.
as you know, it's sort of like scheduled Tetris, right? At the end of the day, it's trying to get that right spot on that right time because that's margin. At the end of the day, that goes to utilization and goes to margin.
So you guys have a couple of new things
Yeah.
that you've brought out in the last several months. Can you tell us more about those?
Yeah. One we're really excited about and what we launched on this show is something called Project Hub. So years ago, as we were deploying the platform, we would help MSPs start their templates, right?
Right.
So templates are a really core part of getting efficiency and productizing your services offerings, driving better margin, understanding the profitability. And we have a module in there called Template Analytics that will revise and tell them, hey, you estimated 8 hours. On average, it's 10 hours. You said this resource type. It looks like you're using this resource type. Would you like us to update the templates? So that's one of the modules that's in the platform. But they kept coming back saying, hey, we don't know where to start. We don't know where to start. And so we realized we could take some of the templates we had and templates that other community members kind of have volunteered and created something called Project Hub. And so Project Hub is a centralized, really, the project structure is very robust. There are a lot of template libraries out there,
Right.
but not having sort of the programmatic structure around the dependencies, durations, work estimates, best practice, right? For things like customer onboarding, a whole host of different types of services. And that will grow because community members will be able to contribute content. And we've already had some partners contribute content saying, hey, we'd love to get back to the community. It was great that we got a lot of this stuff. We'd like to get back. And that's one of the things I love about the MSP community, the MSSP community is just that desire to give back and help each other.
Yeah, and I think that's just another thing, like we were talking about earlier, how you guys have engaged the community. It's another way to be able to do that, not just for your benefit, but for theirs as well.
Yeah. I've never seen an industry where two direct competitors help each other so much, which is
Right.
which is great, right?
Yeah,
It's rare.
It's really weird in this space in that way that there is, there's an old term called co-opetition.
Yeah.
And that describes this space very well.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So what else are you guys working on?
So we've got some stuff coming out next year we're really excited about too. We've got something called Mentor Plus, which is an in-app, kind of think of it like an in-app LMS that will operate the software. There'll be role-based and position-based curriculums about not only how to use the technology, how to up-level their skills in project coordination and project management, right? Almost like a virtualized PM coach in a box, right? So as organizations and partners get new employees or want to up-level skills of people, they can do it right in the application, not have to work separately outside with onboarding or operations folks. So we're really excited about that because we've had a lot of people say, hey, we want to always go back, kind of refresh and kind of up level, as your point said. Hey, we didn't start with these skills. We want to get these skills. I want to up-level this person. I don't want to have to send them off to a PMP course. Right.
And that's really, one of those things where you're helping them help themselves.
Right.
And it's that kind of stuff from a vendor that I think really matters to this community.
Yeah. We're so dependent on the feedback from our partners. So much of the functionality we've done has come directly from it. I mean, 2 years ago, we were here, and at the show, people came up and some existing partners said, hey, you have all the data. We would love, we don't have time to do retros on our projects. Feels like you guys could do that automatically for us. And so we said, all right, we'll take a look at it. 6 months later, we released that module, and it's been something very, very helpful. Same thing on something called Smart Schedule, which was this automated scheduling in the platform. So I'm really proud of our product and our technology team because they get a really quick turn from feedback from the community to a really robust module quickly. And so we're excited to learn, and after what we've learned here at the show, kind of some of the other things that we've picked up and went, okay, now we know what, let's run fast to get this out because this matters to them.
That's awesome. Now, when somebody's starting to look at this, I imagine that there's a point at which they outgrow that project management module that's built in to their PSA.
Yeah.
What does the MSP typically look like when they're at that point and they need to transition to something like Moovila?
Yeah. I mean, in general rule of thumb, if they've got somebody, a central project management function, generally 20 employees, that's sort of the starting point. We have people all the way down, MSPs with 5 employees that will do project works. But generally that's sort of where it starts to become, hey, we've got to track, we've got to manage this. They're around the 20 employee side. However, now with Project Hub, we've had a lot of people come up and go, look, I don't have a really big project, but I'm never going to get there if I don't get these starter points. So they love the idea of Project Hub because we've had several people come up and go, I like it just for that, because getting a functional automated template library, because once again, when these templates come in, the critical path engine will help them automatically manage those projects. So they see it as, hey, maybe I don't need to get a project coordinator as quickly. That can save margin for us as a business.
Yeah, and there are MSPs of that, 5 employee size that even though they're small, they're more mature.
Right.
Because they came from another MSP, they know what has worked and what has not. And so they're looking for tools that they can use to optimize the business.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that's exactly what you guys are doing on the project side of things.
That's exactly right. Yep. Trying to give them efficient automated dates and resource management. Because if you don't, we always talk about this, we're an AI and an automation business, blah, 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 AI. But this is a relationship business, and it's always going to be a relationship business, regardless. If it exists, it's going to be a relationship business. And one of the things we're really proud of is we help facilitate that relationship because you have to communicate dates to customers on projects. And if you have chaos in those dates and you're delivering bad dates, that undermines confidence with customers, right? So it is about integrity, speaking with integrity to your customers and knowing and trusting the dates that you're delivering about it. Because the other thing we know statistically is your projects are going to slip. Statistically, it's an almost guaranteed. So the sooner you find out about that, you message it to your customer and you work with them around that, right? As opposed to them calling you and going, hey, I thought you guys were supposed to be done last month. What?
So basically, if they employ something like this, then they have a better chance of succeeding in their business than winning at Powerball. That's what I'm hearing.
That's right. Or if they've gotten all their projects to go fantastically well and they've got a really big they should go buy Powerball tickets.
There you go. Well, Mike, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much. Really appreciate it, Eric.
Next, we sit down with Adam from CyberFOX, a true channel veteran who's helped forge names like Kaseya, ConnectWise, LionGuard, and now founder at his own company, CyberFOX. Adam brings decades of perspective to cybersecurity, having watched our industry explode from a handful of vendors to hundreds. Let's check out what's going on at CyberFOX.
What's up, everybody? We're here, All Things MSP Live IT Nation. I got Adam from CyberFOX. What's up, dude? How are you?
Yeah, doing great, man. This is good stuff.
Good stuff. All right, so real quick, for those who don't know you, because you've been around the industry a long time, and they should, but in case they don't, who are you? What's CyberFOX? And how much do you bench? Because clearly I'm I'm afraid of you.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be 60, and thank you, and I try to bench as little as possible now.
Fair.
Just because I'm older. But, for the people that know me, I have been around a little bit. Started off in the channel about 20 years ago. Was blessed to work with most of the big vendors, as employee 50 at Kaseya, employee 60 at ConnectWise, employee 5 at LionGuard, and then employee 1 at CyberFOX. So I finally made it to number 1.
There you go. Yeah, you moved up the ladder.
Just a little bit. Yeah. But yeah, it's just been an awesome ride. Blessed to have come onto the channel very much in its infancy when, there wasn't very many vendors. By the way, I was just chatting with some other people. When I started, there was maybe 12 MSP focused vendors. Today, it's like in the hundreds.
Yeah.
It's like somewhere around 400. And so it's been really interesting to be a part of that evolution. Just great.
I was in the product hall last night doing some recordings. Just the amount of people that are out there. Like I'm starting to see like a tip that there's so many more vendors that want to help MSPs than there are MSPs, and I'm afraid that we're going to tip like too far in that direction.
We talk about that, and so I do a lot of coaching and advising around that with go-to-market stuff, and that we have to be humble and understand the average MSP size hasn't very changed very much. If anything, it stayed very similar because of technology, automation, and efficiencies. And the challenge is, if the average MSP is still, let's call it around 13 to 15 employees, 10 years ago, you were getting 12 phone calls. Now you're getting 400.
Right.
And so there's a lot of overload there and a lot of overlapping tech.
It's funny that you say 13 to 15 because I'm on the Apple side of things, right?
Sure.
So it's very different for us. And as soon as you said like 13 to 15, I was like, I don't think I know many Apple consultants that are that big. It's obviously a very different world for the Windows-based MSPs.
And again, if you want to go on the journey back, and by the way, how do you know all these numbers, right? So if I was somebody, I'd be like, and you don't know me, you'd be like, how do you know these numbers? Well, if you look at ConnectWise, we had tens of thousands of partners.
Right.
So you're always counting and averaging and everything else. And then so initially having the PSA information for so many MSPs, then as we moved into RMM, and again, you have now tens and tens of thousands of partners. And then when you go to the other vendors and you can validate things haven't changed by counting those numbers. So the reality is, the average MSP is 13 to 15 employees. And coming from enterprise, when I first came over, I didn't know what MSP meant.
Sure.
Somebody had called me and said, you should come over here. It's really this unique community. So I had to learn what MSP stood for. And then, when you really put it in perspective, when we think of what SMB is, if you're on the enterprise, internal IT side, when I was running teams there, we would look at it as 500 people or 1,000 people. So, but then what you got to understand is, if the average MSP is managing 500 endpoints or 1,000 endpoints, that actually represents, a good mid-market size company, even in enterprise. And that's really when it took off. The channel took off because Microsoft started realizing there was a lot of endpoints being managed in the channel.
It's funny to think about like the perspective of what's SMB really, it's all about from where you're standing from, right? Because like for a lot of us, SMB is companies under 200 or even companies under 50. But you're talking about enterprise looking at SMB as like companies under 1,000, and it's all about that like strange perspective. And we tend to use it. It's actually a really interesting story also about the MSP part, because I remember I had a potential client call me one time, and they were like, "Are you an MSP?" And I was like, "Well, we're not your traditional MSP." And they were like, "Oh, so you're not an MSP?" And I was like, "I don't think you know what MSP is. Also, you shouldn't be using that language. Like that's an internal thing."
Yeah.
And this person obviously we didn't get the deal.
Yeah.
But like they were like, "What kind of MSP are you?" I was like, "Why do you keep asking it like that? It's so weird." All right. So now you're with CyberFOX, employee number 1.
Yeah.
Head honcho, numero uno. Buck stops with you.
Yeah. Co-founder with the co-founder of
but he's employee number 2.
Yeah. He was
1B. We'll call it 1B.
1B. But yeah.
So what's CyberFOX and what's it do for MSPs?
Yeah, I mean, we're a cybersecurity platform. So it was something that previously, at ConnectWise, back then when you would survey, up until COVID, cybersecurity really wasn't trending as something that was in the top of, hey, we really need to dig into this. COVID changed everything. And I really started understanding that, and I was very intrigued. And so, after we had exited ConnectWise, when we were acquired, one day I called up Dave and I said, I have this idea. What do you think? And so we said yes, and we decided to begin the journey of building this cybersecurity company. So the first acquisition was a password manager. So we have password management, just like a LastPass or a Keeper, any of the others. Mm-hmm. And then from there, we were lucky enough to be kind of engaged with this company called AutoElevate. And Auto Elevate is what's kind of called a PAM solution, so privilege and access management. And really what that is, it's a very simple way of that first line of defense where generally the weakest link that will let the bad guys in is us. We're people.
Humans.
So, we download stuff. We don't always think about it. And then all of a sudden we're letting malicious actors in. So it really kind of puts up that first barrier and says, hey, take control of those admin privileges in a logical and efficient way so that you're not interfering with their productivity, but putting that first line of defense in that says, hey, bad guys, it's not going to be easy. And that's really all you can do. Bad guys are going to be bad.
Yeah.
They're good at it, right? Which is kind of sucks because they took that same energy. They could probably solve all the world's problems.
It's very true.
You bad guys, man, come on, man, be good.
Help a brother out. Yeah.
Help a brother out. Well, it can be profitable if you're good, I promise. But yeah.
So why Fox though?
Yeah, so that's actually kind of interesting. So we started to have multi-products, and we needed a company name. So we did, honestly, just a survey internally, and with employees, we got it whittled down to 50 names, and everyone voted on CyberFOX. So we put it to the company at that stage. And then the only problem was there was somebody sitting on it. So we kept calling him and saying, hey, can we buy this from you? And he kept saying no. And we offered some money, and he'd say, no, I am the CyberFOX. That was his persona.
I am the CyberFOX.
It was his persona. And then finally, we were going to give up. We had another name, which I'll never tell anybody. It was horrible. And we said, on a Saturday, let's give it one more shot. So we called. We were able to come to a deal. And then, and I think the brand's been great. I'm not going to lie. I think it's memorable. And it sucks because you said you're an Apple guy. The only thing is, if you think about the Apple journey, right? Do you even have to say Apple anymore? Or you just flash the Apple?
Oh, that's why I'm just wearing the Apple Park shirt.
Exactly.
Yeah, people know.
So, and I think, that's the same thing as you build a good brand. For us, if you even just see the color, or you see the picture of a fox, you know us. So we don't really have to say CyberFOX anymore.
I'm going to take a guess. You don't have to tell me if I'm right. The crappy name was Cyberhorse.
Oh, God. All right. So if I'm going to have to share.
No. You don't have to share.
No. I think you're close. It was like CyberVault. I think it sounds like not even really what we do.
Look at this. This is an exclusive. He said he wouldn't tell anyone, and I got to just say it on camera.
He got me out.
Look at that.
Yeah. Horrible name. I ain't gonna lie.
Horrible name. I do like the idea of the fox, right? Because the fox is out at night. It's protecting it's protecting its kind. It's a very protective animal.
Yes.
And you're doing that for these companies. So how does an MSP position CyberFOX? Are they using it? Are they going to add it to their own security stack? Are they trying to sell this directly to the customer that they're working with? What's their positioning on this to make money?
Yeah, wow, that's a great question. So the answer is D, all of the above. Depending on the model that the MSP is kind of employing, it can be any of them. Here's what I always try to coach, and zooming out, not even just about my product, I always love sharing thought leadership, is when I like to remind MSPs, and MSSPs, doesn't really matter, we have the M, is we have clients, we've been in charge of protecting them, we're their trusted advisor. We've earned the right to tell them that we're going to do these things because we are protecting you. So, and I know there's always some concern. By the way, just so you guys understand, behind us is our 43-year-old MSP, which, as everyone knows, back then we didn't call ourselves MSPs. Computer repair, website design, all of those things.
Website design.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
But so we really do understand the journey. We live in it every day. But same thing, we have clients that have been ours for over 20 years, right? And so it's that fine line between, hey, I'm going to tell you we need to do this thing, or rather asking for permission. And what I would tell you is with a tool like this, there's a couple things going on. Bad guys are being bad. We're a relationship industry, just like how we're sitting here. And so with the relationship with the client, sometimes we go, hey, you have your quarterly meeting and you're like, hey, Jim, we should do this. And they go, no, I think we'll wait. We're good for now. But here's what's happening. They're then getting attacked or going through a ransom.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they're then turning around and suing the MSP and saying, you should have protected me. But then they're saying, but I did tell you we need to do this, but you said not now. So at the very least, the message is to everybody, make sure you're getting that release of liability sign off. Do not play games. It's all good and friends, but make sure they're signing that attestation that's saying, hey, I did tell you that we need to do this. And that will absolutely help you at any potential future litigation.
What we like to call a CYA, cover your ass.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So, and that's really it. And the third product we just launched, we look at it as we want to keep things simple. We want to be low cost. Again, we know as an MSP. So it's DNS filtering.
Okay.
It's the PAM solution, Auto Elevate, which really is the best. Please check it out. And then obviously our password manager.
Right.
Building
that whole security bundle in one, make it nice and easy. And it makes it even easier for the MSP to be able to sell that as a product because I don't have to worry about managing 3 relationships when I can manage one. Makes my life a lot easier.
And they're all a little different. Like I said, that's why I'm always hesitant to say, here's the one way. We have people that will sell it for an additional cost. Some people just put it into our user-based pricing. What I'm seeing more of now, which I really think is the best way, I'm seeing more MSPs build a separate security package. And then for them, it becomes that additional level of revenue that they can create. And so I think that's really smart. And again, man, we have earned it. We have taken care of them to the point sometimes we do such a good job, they forget why they give us money.
That's a great place to be in. And yeah, I think adding a security package on top of their, per user, per device, or whatever it is, it's a great way to add in another line of revenue. It's a great little add-on, and they can package in such nice things with it just to protect the customer. And you know what? Again, like you said, if the customer says no, shame on them.
Well, here's the thing, right? So we are all entrepreneurs. We're small businesses, right? Even us. I'm not Microsoft, right? So we are very similar, which makes the channel so cool. But we have to make sure that with all these additional layers of products that we're putting into our stack, that we just don't eat away our margin, right? So we have the right to raise prices. And I know that's scary sometimes because we're all fearful the client will leave us. They're not going to leave you. So I can't tell you how many MSPs I've helped go through this exercise of raising prices. And usually what will happen is if they lose one, it's always the one they said they should have lost anyway.
Years ago,
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But we have the right to protect our margins because we are doing such a good job. And that's why I like the idea of, at least with the security stuff, put it into that additional package.
So we've learned 3 things here. 1 is raise your rates and don't be afraid of that. Number 2, add a security package. And number 3, use CyberFOX as your security package.
I hope so. We try to do a really good job. We're here to help everybody.
Yeah.
We love being a part of the channel. So
anything else you want to share with the folks at home?
No, that we're both from New York, so we clearly assigned that. And it's always good about catching up at home.
Yeah.
A little bit. That never leaves you if you're from there.
It's cold up there right now.
Yeah, and that last thing, whatever size you are, it's never easy. You have to focus on growth. If you're not thinking about growth every single day, I always usually coach it as every day I'm in that fight for survival, and it's okay if you feel that way because that's what we all signed on for as entrepreneurs. And then it does get easier and easier for the younger ones. And I think we're just blessed to be in a great ecosystem.
Yeah.
Just think the world of it. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much for being here, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
More coming up from IT Nation soon.
Thank you for listening or watching the All Things MSP podcast. If you liked this episode, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, hit that like button, and consider subscribing to catch all our weekly episodes. And from your host extraordinaire, Justin Esgar, and myself, Eric Anthony, your humble producer and All Things MSP founder, thank you very much for spending your time with us. If you are not aware, All Things MSP started as a Facebook group and now supports over 6,000 members. We also have a LinkedIn page for those of you who don't do Facebook, and make sure to check out our YouTube channel for even more content. And a big thank you to our premier sponsors, EasyDmark, Helped, GoZinta, MoveBot, and Nodeware. And thank you to the rest of our sponsors. Without sponsors, we could not do what we do for the MSP community. Please consider checking them out. The All Things MSP podcast is a BizPow LLC production. The views and opinions of the hosts and guests are their own and do not reflect the thoughts and opinions of any employer, vendor, sponsor, or random taxi driver in the Metro DC area. Be sure to join us next week for another exciting episode.